Welcome back. We're in Woodmead today, just north of Johannesburg, and we're busy talking about state capture, a subject that's captured a lot of media in recent months, particularly around one family, the Gupta family, and the influence they may or may not have. And we've got a panel helping us explore this idea of state capture, and we'd like to hear your thoughts as well. Please send your questions to Morning Live SABC, and we'll make sure that those questions get ventilated through this panel. Before, we've heard from a few of our panelists already, but next is somebody who's written quite a lot. He's a political analyst, but also, I guess, a journalist in many ways, because you've written on this particular subject. But if I could just ask you, and you've written quite a few things. You've said, there was one tweet you had where you said, focusing narrowly on state capture ignores other forms of capture that some ANC leaders have been susceptible to since and before 1994. I was quite curious about that particular tweet that you wrote. If you could just expand on that and then give us also your thoughts about this debate around state capture.
Well, I think that tweet was sent by one of my children. The phrase state capture is a political weapon. Using the phrase is also an act of creation, in the sense that by using it, on one side of the phrase you have angels, on the other you have devils or demons. So the phrase is a political weapon in that sense. But it's not a very helpful phrase, because state capture is but one form of capture. It is a subset of capture, many forms of capture. For instance, countries can be captured, economies can be captured, and yes, the state can be captured. The question is, what are the motives behind any attempt at capturing the state, an economy, or a country? The answer is about the fact that when certain interests have become dominant in a society, particularly economic interests, cultural interests, and others, those interests have to be reproduced. And the dominant relations that flow out of those dominant interests themselves have to be reproduced. Now, of course, those whose interests have become dominant are not going to sit back and just leave that to chance. They will do something actively to make sure that key centers of society are created in their own image. That basically is one of the reasons behind the capturing of the state, the economy, and countries. And therefore, what other forms of capture do we have? You can have ideological capture, especially when you have, let's say, a liberation movement whose logic is inconsistent with the logic of those whose interests are dominant. You capture individuals or the liberation movement as a whole, so that when it becomes a government, its policy orientation mirrors the dominant interests in society. You can also have the capture of not the state as a whole, but certain elements of the state. For instance, you can capture national treasury to make sure that it becomes a state within a state, whose logic is located outside the dominant party and is located outside, in this case, the alliance. You can also have the capture of key individuals, not just by external forces, through what I call internal capture. So inside an organization, you can capture key individuals there, so that when they are deployed in the state, their orientation will mirror yours. But more importantly, Peter, before I come to an end on this argument, we tend to assume that it's only the ruling party that can be captured, or members of the party who are deployed in the state that can be captured. if you intend to capture the state, you don't wait until a party
Okay,
is
I'm
in
going to have
government.
to pause you there, unfortunately, but I will let you finish because I have to take another quick break before 8 o'clock. So let's just take that quick break, and when we come back, we'll start hearing your final thoughts and move to Mzwanele.